I heard the paramedic mention her name before I even saw her, but it was the look on his face that made my stomach turn. It was a mix of pity, strain, and something he clearly didn't want to explain to a husband standing in the hallway at 2:17 a.m. "Sir, your wife is stable," he said. "But there's something you should know." Those words sent a cold shiver straight down my spine. At that moment, I had no idea that the night ahead would tear apart everything I thought I knew about trust, love, and the woman I had spent a decade building a life with. I couldn't have imagined that the truth waiting just behind that curtain would affect me so profoundly that, weeks later, recounting it on my channel would feel like bleeding through my fingertips. But let me take you back to that moment when I still believed she loved only me. I had been asleep when the call from the hospital came. The number lit up my phone in the dark, casting that sterile blue glow that always feels like a harbinger of bad news. "Is this Daniel Reyes?" a voice asked. "Yes," I answered, my voice tight. "This is St. George Medical. Your wife has been brought here." "My wife? What happened?" I asked, panic creeping in. They wouldn't give me details over the phone, only urging me to come immediately. I drove through empty streets, the world around me eerily quiet except for the relentless pounding of my own heart. She had told me she was working late, that her team had a sudden deadline. I even texted her around midnight just to check in, and she replied with a heart emoji, promising she'd be home late. I clung to that small digital reassurance like it was a lifeline, unaware how hollow it really was. When I arrived at the ER, the nurse at the desk gave me the same uneasy look the paramedic would mirror moments later. Pity, hesitation, like I was the last person who deserved this but also the one who most needed to hear it. "She's in room 6, the nurse said softly. "Someone is already with her." That phrase hit wrong. Someone? Who would be with my wife at 2 o'clock in the morning? I pushed open the curtain and froze. She lay on the bed, pale and exhausted, and beside her sat a man I didn't recognize. The instant I entered, he sprang upright, guilt flashing across his face like a spotlight. "My wife. Emily," I stammered. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Daniel, wait. Who is he?" My voice shook more than I wanted. Neither of them answered at first. The silence stretched heavy and suffocating. Finally, the man spoke. I should go." "No," I snapped. "You stay. Someone needs to explain why my wife is here in a hospital bed with you sitting next to her." Emily covered her face with trembling hands. When she looked up, her eyes were red, whether from pain, exhaustion, or guilt, I couldn't tell, but I felt it all the same. The truth was coming, and I wasn't ready. Before she could speak, the doctor entered. He glanced between us and immediately sensed the tension. "Mr. Reyes," he said, addressing me, "your wife experienced a severe allergic reaction, strong enough to cause respiratory distress." I blinked in disbelief. Allergic reaction? To what? She didn't have allergies. The doctor hesitated, and in that pause, the weight of the moment pressed down on me even harder. She'd been trying to figure out what caused the reaction. Mentioned she'd recently become sensitive to latex. The symptoms started not long after, and he cut himself off, but I'd already understood exactly what he meant. Latex. And suddenly something inside me tore, slowly, painfully, as if a thread were being yanked straight from the center of my chest. The other man spoke gently. "I didn't know she was allergic." "She didn't either," I said numbly. I just stared at him. "So you two were?" Emily broke down right there. "Daniel, I'm so sorry. I didn't think any of this would happen." "You didn't mean what?" I asked. "Didn't mean to end up in the ER? Or didn't mean for me to find out?" The doctor very wisely slipped out of the room once he realized the medical part of the conversation was over, leaving the three of us in a silence that felt like cold metal. "How long, Daniel? Please?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "How long?" Her shoulders caved. 5 months. The words hit like a blow. 5 months. 5 months of lies. 5 months of her coming home late with excuses that had sounded completely ordinary. I laughed once, short, bitter. "And now you're here because you had an allergic reaction while you were with him." She flinched at the bluntness. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I was lonely, you were distant, work was hard, and he listened and... Oh, so now it's my fault you cheated. I'm not saying that, she whispered. I wasn't thinking straight. I looked at the other man. You married? He shook his head. No. And I didn't know she was at first. When I found out, I tried to end it. She said things were complicated. Emily hid her face. I messed up. I messed up so badly. I wanted to yell, throw something, break anything, but none of that came. Just a heavy, suffocating weight inside my ribs. You were with him, I said quietly. And the hospital called me, your husband, to come help you. The irony burned. I was the one who rushed here. I was the one who cared. And she was the one who shattered us. She kept apologizing over and over, as if repetition could seal a wound she'd carved open for months. But something in me had already snapped clean through. I'm glad you're okay, I said softly, honestly, but I'm done. Her tears came faster. Daniel, please. I can fix this. I can. No. You had 5 months to think about what you were doing. I didn't even get 5 seconds. The other man stared at the floor, guilt heavy on him, but he wasn't my concern. He hadn't promised me anything. She had. I'll grab your things tomorrow, I told her. Stay with him. Stay with anyone. I just can't stay with someone who destroys me and calls it an accident. As I turned to go, she reached for me weakly. Daniel, don't go home alone tonight. I stopped only long enough to answer. I've been alone for months. I just didn't realize it. Then I walked out of the ER. The doors slid open like the world was making room for a version of me I didn't recognize yet. One who wouldn't ever go back to who he was before. If you're still here, thanks for listening. This wasn't easy to share then, and it isn't easy now. But someone out there needs to know. Heartbreak doesn't finish you. Betrayal doesn't last forever. And if you want more stories, more honesty, more real-life truth, help me reach 2,000 subscribers. It means more than you think. Take care of your heart. Not everyone will.